Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Yahweh, which is named the Most High in ancient Paleo Hebrew. Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son in ancient Paleo Hebrew. Now, I was actually just watching a video from a sincere Akim who he shared one of his dreams. Okay, and I've told these dreams before that I've had. But with that being said, I think I might want to just tell them again. All right, because right now, 2020, as I call it, the year of revelation, the year of tribulation. Okay, and truly, this year has started off as being a big year, man. All right, you started off the new year with not even, 2-3 days after the new year, America assassinated one of Iran's top officials, top generals, I guess we could say. So since we're in that year, which I believe they're going to start pushing that RFID chip this year. I believe it through the Spirit, but I could be wrong. But with that being said, I want to share these 5 dreams that I've had over the past. As I said, I've been in this truth for 6 years. But I've had these dreams over the past 4.5 years. Now I'm going off my memory, so I'm gonna go over the dreams from how I remember. And again, these are years ago, and now they tell you. You can look this up. They'll tell you that usually when you have a dream, you usually will forget 90% of the dream by that afternoon of the very same day. So the fact that I can remember these dreams years after they happen, it shows you, man. All right, that the Most High is really dealing with us, man. All right, I say that humbly, of course. All right, because the scriptures also say dreams lift up fools. However, the Lord also uses dreams to show things that had to come to pass. For example, what about Ezra, our second Ezra's, the 13th chapter? All right, Ezra had a dream. Okay, and in his dream was a prophecy. Okay, go ahead and read that. Anyway, this is the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 17. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says Yahweh, I will pour out of my spirit. Slakia, let me read that again. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says Yahweh, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Let's go on a little bit. And all my servants and all my handmaids I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in the heaven above, and signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of Yahweh come. All right, but the main point is verse 17. I'm going to read it again. Acts chapter 2 and verse 17. And it shall come to pass in the last days, said Yahweh, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see dreams, and your old men shall dream dreams. Okay, now with that being said, I'm going to get into these 5 dreams that I've had. And actually, one of the dreams is not mine. It's actually a sibling of mine. But it's very spiritual, and I'll get into the why a little later. You know what? I'm actually going to start off with that dream. Why not? So this dream was not one of mine. This was it was actually from my brother. All right, my brother had this dream, and he shared this with me. Now again, he's pretty young. He had this when he was like 10, 11 years old. Because he was staying with me at that point. So anyway, it goes, and this is when I was this was a couple years ago when I was first getting into the whole UFOs being the chariots thing. Okay, so I was like, damn, are these UFOs the chariots? Or are these some type of demonic, entities inside these crafts? So this is when I started to do my research the first couple days. So what happened was I was woken up one morning by my brother. and he was totally terrified, and he told me that he wanted to describe a dream that he had. So I was like, okay, go ahead and tell me why are you shaking? Why are you upset? So he goes on, and I can tell this is good. So I grab my notepad, and I don't have it with me now because of a couple years ago. I got it in one of my boxes, but I'm not going to look for it. I can remember half of the dream he told me. He told me that outside of my window, and when I say my, he was referring to me, not himself. I was saying outside of my window, there was a UFO hovering there. He said it was a round shape, like the ones you see on the pictures. Um, that if you look up a UFO online, he said it looked like that. It had a crystal shape. It was glowing with a purple light, and it was shining so brightly that and it also had smoke coming out of it. He told me, and he said it was shining so bright it was like it was generating heat. All right, and that's pretty much the whole dream that he had. And again, as I said, he was terrified when he came into me. He woke me up to tell me that this happened. And again, how does this happen right around the time that I'm looking into this topic for the first time? Okay, so that's the first dream, which again, that one wasn't for myself, but these four others are. Um, Second dream, this one's of mine. This was back a little while before these hurricanes. I believe it was back in 2017, late 2016. I had this dream. But basically, I was me and a bunch of my relatives. We were at a electronics store, and they had the TVs there, the news stations on. And what happened was it was a short dream, but still edifying. Um, what ended up happening, if I'm not mistaken, is there was a massive like earthquake. Um, so making a long story short, what ended up happening was we all took cover in this electronics store, and what happened was everyone ended up being all right. But the one thing I remember I said in that dream was, I said that this was going to come. I said this day was going to come, and it has finally came. And then that was the last part of the dream. All right, and if you know the scriptures, well, the scriptures speak about what is that, Matthew 24th chapter. Then in those days there should be earthquakes in diverse places. All right, and that's just one of the signs, man. Okay, so that was a very spiritual dream. Second, or really third, I should say now, the third dream is a very spiritual as well. Um, it started out weird, but then it gets to the main meat of why I'm bringing it up. Um, it started off where I was in some type of like, I guess one could say, Publix, but it was like a shopping center. And I actually seen the vigilant Christian Mario inside this store. Okay, you all should know who that is. So I went up to the dude and I tried to shake his hand because I was actually supposed to do a debate with the man because I have a friend of mine who actually does debates with him, who actually knows the vigilant Christian very well. Um, and for those of you who don't know who vigilant Christian is, basically he's the most popular so-called Christian YouTuber of all time. And obviously I wasn't there to, be friends with the dude, of course. Obviously I know that he's going off of his doctrine. That's why I said I wanted to have a debate with him. So anyway, I went up to him. I put my hand out to shake his hand, but he wouldn't shake my hand. All right, he wouldn't shake my hand. And I thought, oh, that's odd. But anyway, what happened later is I was on my bed and I was turning around and I had a TV set at the opposite side of the room. And on this TV set was the main point of this dream. On the TV set, it had a news station on. And you know how underneath where the people stand, where they have the, guess one could say, well, what could we call it? They describe the event that's going on underneath what's happening. when you watch something live. What happened was it said America, the lake of fire, and all you could see in the background was America. All of America was up in flames. So indeed, America became the lake of fire, and we've been teaching this for years, man. We've always said that America was that lake of fire in the book of Revelation. Okay, it's not talking about hell. If that was the case, what about Revelation 20 and 14? And death and hell was cast into the lake of fire. All right, but no, that lake of fire is talking about America being destroyed. What about Revelation, the 17th chapter? I believe it's the 17th or 16th verse. It says, "In the beast they shall hate the whore, and they shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." And that fire is talking about that nuclear fire, man. Okay, so America is going to become that lake of fire in the book of Revelation. So I had a dream of that prophecy. All right. I got two more dreams. As I said, man, they're all spiritual, man. Okay, and just the other week in real life, there was actually a UFO hovering behind me in one of my videos. And you can look on my channel and you can see it. There was a chariot behind me, a UFO. And I didn't even acknowledge it at the time because I didn't know it was there. I was talking into the phone recording the video, but if you look to my, I believe it was my right, behind me the whole time, the whole 20 minutes, the thing was there. And I was walking back and forth, so a couple minutes it wouldn't be there, but then when I turned back around to the direction it was in, it would be there again for the whole 20 minutes. Okay? So we're truly in some spiritual times. Anyway, let's get on to the fourth dream. I'm going to save the best for last, which actually has to do with the 666 mark. Let's see. Okay. This one's about martial law. So anyway, which actually it's ironic as well because the Akim I was just watching that I got the inspiration of making this video on, his dream was actually about martial law. And he said that he actually died in his dream. However, in my dream, I actually survived. In fact, when you read in the Apocrypha, I don't got mine with me right now, but if you read in the book of 2nd Ezra's, the 16th chapter, it tells you, I believe it's down near the 50th verse. Might be a little bit earlier than that, somewhere maybe in around the 30th. I could be mistaken, but it's in there. It speaks about how when they, when you go through a cluster of grapes, let's say, or oranges, when you grab them off the trees, there's always left a few that diligently search through the vineyards. Okay, but that's parabolically speaking for when these troops bust down these doors and drag people out and put them to death. And that's even in the scriptures. It says, in the same chapter, it says they shall be like madmen, sparing none. All right. And it even mentions that a man shall go into his neighbor's house, and when they search the house with the sword, there shall be some of them who are left who actually escaped. Okay, so it's a very spiritual thing. So anyway, my dream of martial law, it ended up being like this. So I was in a house with all my relatives, right? Anyway, they end up busting in the door. The military troops, I guess one could call them. And what ends up happening is everybody in the whole neighborhood that gets taken. But the way I survived was I grabbed my pistol from the top of the shelf, and I stood behind an arc in the room because my room was little weird how it was set up. Like if you stood in the doorway, you couldn't see where I was until you came into the room. So I stood there with my pistol pointed at the doorway. One of the troops came in. He looked right at me, but since I already had my pistol aimed right at his head, I told him real quietly to leave, not tell them I'm here. So he went, and they never got me. All right, so I was the only one who survived the flood, so to speak. All right, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you know the scriptures. Scriptures say that their enemy shall come in as a flood. All right, so I survived the flood. Okay, and all these dreams I've had, especially the next one, which is by far the most spiritual, I survived. Okay, I survived all these future prophecies. So I have one more dream I want to share. This is one of my personal favorites. This has to do with that mark of the beast. So anyway, the dream starts off with I'm in a interrogation room. Okay, because especially with the apostles of GMS, all right, how they're always labeled as, perverts, pedophiles, child molesters, and stuff like that, terroristic and whatnot. So anyway, I started off in an interrogation room, and I was being interrogated because they thought that they claimed that I was some type of, pedophile, child molester, stuff like that. So what ended up happening is I simply explained that, you see, we don't teach people to go out and do these actions. We simply said that according to the scriptures, this is what's in there. We never advocated anybody to go out and do these actions. So anyway, I go from there, and we ended up going into a line. There was about, I want to say, maybe 10 people in the line. Okay, I don't know any of the other people and why they was there. However, there was 9 other people in front of me. I was the 10th person in line, and we all walked up to a I guess you could call it like a little station. Like for example, you know how some communities you enter, you have to go through a gate, and then you have a little stand there where the person sits in, like usually a police officer, and they'll let you in or tell you can't go in. All right, so basically like that. However, we were right next to Walmart, okay, and this is spiritual because you got the whole talk about Walmart FEMA camps, okay. But anyway, um, I'll go on. So we were all lining up outside of this booth. And guess what the thing is? They were implanting everybody in their right hand with, it wasn't the microchip, it was like it was a little, I guess one could say, chip that clamps down on the skin and goes down inside. Okay? Which was, of course, symbolic of that microchip. Okay, Revelation 13:16, and he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hands or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, except for he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. All right. Now that again, that's spiritual. All right, that thing that clamped down right on your right near your thumb. All right, and that little patch of skin you got. That's the place they put it. Okay. Um, so everybody else got it in line, but when it came to my turn, I quickly ran. Okay, and there was about probably maybe 10 guys chasing after me. Because again, we were right next to Walmart, right? And Walmart was a FEMA camp. Okay, Walmart was a FEMA camp. They had barbed wire walls, up or near the back of it, I could see. But as I was running, there was also woods next to Walmart on the opposite side, or actually it was in the direction I was running. There was woods there. So I ended up running into the woods. Few of them chased me, but I ran a little while longer, and then they basically, I got away. I escaped. Okay, so in that dream, I escaped the chip. I escaped the I escaped the FEMA camps. Okay, so those were 5 of the spiritual dreams I've had over the past 4.5 years. Okay, I wanted to just share those because, hey, we were in those times, man. Okay, we were in that spiritual time. I got the scripture right here. I'm going to read it again. Acts chapter 2 and verse 17. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says Yahweh, I will pour out, or Slakia, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Right, so, hey man, it's evident, man, that, these things are really going to start happening soon. Okay, we see it, man. Lord willing, this is the year of that microchip, which is the RFID. The RFID microchip is the mark of the beast. Okay? Anybody who doesn't know that does not know the scriptures. But anyway, with that being said, I want to say shalom. Yeah, I'll just play a couple seconds just to get to 20 minutes. Because I got a little bit of OCD, I guess we could say.